Everything having to do with Rings of Power is turning into a chaotic disaster, with everyone contradicting each other when it comes to the cast and crew for this film. You have the producer saying, oh, we just love Tolkien so much and we want to really just honor what he created. And then you have cast members who are saying something completely different and something completely opposite to that. It's all just a complete mess, and it shows with that chaos and that mess that nobody is on the same page. And if they were on the same page, they would be all trying to honor what Tolkien created, but that is not what their prerogative is. They have no interest and no goal, no drive to actually honor what Tolkien created with Middle-earth, with Lord of the Rings, and that is very obvious and is becoming more obvious by the day. So we have here a cast member from the film, Lenny Henry, who is playing one of the Harfoots, this guy right here, and he has some very peculiar things to say in regards to this film, or to the series. So Lenny Henry says Amazon's The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power sees people of color taking up space in the center of a fantasy series. So Lenny Henry, who plays the Harfoot Sadik Barrows in the upcoming The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power series, recently claimed that the series finally sees people of color taking up space in the center of a fantasy series. Now, there have been many other fantasy projects that have come out in the past that have people of color within those series, and very few people have batted an eye at that because it works for those worlds. It is part of those worlds, and no one really has a problem with that. And nobody really has necessarily a problem with someone being in the Middle-earth Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power show that is a person of color. The problem is that a lot of this is completely inaccurate to what Tolkien created. None of it is actually focused on the lore or honoring Tolkien's legacy. It is all based on feelings that these people have, these woke feelings, in order to push diversity and inclusion, and that is what the main focus is of this show. And it shows because that is basically what all the debates are when it comes to the show. It is what all the mainstream media is focused on with the show. They are all pushing that, fans of Lord of the Rings are racist because they don't want people of color within the show and everything else. So that is what this entire thing is focused on. It is just Star Wars all over again, and we all saw how that turned out with Star Wars. So Henry spoke with Empire magazine to promote the series while giving some backstory about his character, the tribe of nomadic Harfoots his character belongs to. First, Henry detailed the tribe. We're a nomadic tribe, moving with the weather and the fertility of the crops. We have big caravans on wooden wheels, and we're very good at hiding things because humans are much bigger than us and bring trouble. This might be a nitpick, but usually you have to stay in one location in order to grow crops. Very true. It seems odd that they would be moving around at the whims of the fertility of the crops. Rather, nomadic tribes usually follow migrating animals. Next, Henry says, we're the traditional Tolkien little guy. He explains, traditionally, the little people in this world provide comedy but also get to be incredibly brave. You're going to see us run the full gamut of emotions and actions in this adventure. Well, I mean, and this is one of the problems with this entire thing, is that they are they don't know what they're actually talking about when it comes to Tolkien. Not everything that Tolkien wrote was focused on the traditional little guy. That's not what the Silmarillion was necessarily focused on. In fact, it wasn't really focused on that at all. It's not what some of his other works as well have been focused on, Children of Húrin and everything else. Like, none of these things are actually focused on the traditional Tolkien little guy. Yes, you have that in The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, but that's about it. So when they say this, they are already showing that they have no idea what they're talking about, and they don't know what they're doing when they're creating the show. It shouldn't be about the Tolkien little guy. That's not what the Silmarillion is about. But of course, once again, you have to remember that a lot of this is just fan fiction. It's not actually based on any of Tolkien's works. They're trying to create the novel that Tolkien never wrote, and that is going to fail miserably. He explains, traditionally, the little people in this world provide comedy, but also get to be incredibly brave. Right. Okay. From there, Henry makes it what has become the standard marketing plug for Disney, especially when it comes to Marvel and Star Wars. As an example, the Obi-Wan Kenobi actress Moses Ingram promoted the show to The Independent, telling them, Obi-Wan is going to bring the most diversity I think we've ever seen in the galaxy before. So that is exactly what now they are using as the talking points for Rings of Power. Anyone who has watched the Star Wars, okay, so let's get down here to what Lenny Henry has to say. It appears Amazon is taking the page out of their book, as Henry says. Finally, in this show, kids are going to see people of color taking up space in the center of a fantasy series, because that has never been done before. It's a first, everyone, when it isn't a first at all. He added, we're very visible in this world, and that's very exciting. He previously indicated, if you can't see it, you can't be it. Oh my gosh, what a stupid thing to say. Oh my gosh. Look, the stupid thing about all of this is that I know many people who are not white who are fans of Lord of the Rings, and they didn't have to have someone who was black or whatever else in the show in order to relate to these characters, because it is about human connection. We're all humans. We all should be able to relate on a human level with characters. But that is the problem, is that the characters that they're creating are skin deep. That has always been the problem with all this diversity, woke nonsense that Hollywood is pushing. It is all skin deep. They don't actually care about creating human connections, human characters that have the flaws, the troubles, the things that we can all relate to. That is not what they're focused on. Instead, they're focused on creating Don Lemon elf characters, and that is what this show is ultimately about. It is about being woke. It is about pushing diversity and inclusion and trying to rewrite what Tolkien came up with. But at the same time, the showrunners are telling us that they just love Tolkien so much, and they want to really just honor his work. They have no intention of doing that. That is all just BS that is coming out of their mouth, and that is very, very clear with all the actions that we're seeing, and actions speak louder than words. So with that being said, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Leave a like, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I'll talk to you all in another video very soon.